Hey everybody, welcome to our weekly live call in our special coaching group. Hopefully you had a great week, and some of you have already put some questions for me to answer, which is great. I think that's an important thing for to keep the conversation going. As you know, the way it works is, every week on Wednesdays I do a half-hour live call where I take your questions, talk about what's something on my mind or what's going on in recent news or maybe some updates on projects. But it's really, this is more for you to share my thoughts and insights of what's going on, what things are trending, and then also give you a chance to ask questions. Normally, what I do is I suggest giving you questions until Tuesday. Today's Wednesday, but you can also post questions below and let me know what your thoughts are or on in terms of what I'm talking today. Now, excuse me. The good news is Marissa gave a whole bunch of questions yesterday, so I'm going to go through them today. But I thought I'd start with a little bit of a takeaway. I'm in a good mood because my parents got their second vaccine dose yesterday, so I feel like I'm on the cusp of being able to go, hug them out, which is going to be great. I'm excited about that. And of course, with the good, there's always good and bad. There was also, my heart's a little heavy because of what happened in London, Ontario, with an Islamophobic attack, and some people were killed, and that was really, really upsetting to me when I think about myself and my kids and my mom and my sister and things like that. And it's a reminder of the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. There's things going on in our family, like, things right now with my wife and the kids. It's stressful, especially with the kids. Stressful with online learning, and they're not paying attention, and we're having difficulties with behaviors. That's tough. You may have similar things, maybe fights with your parents or your siblings or your roommate or whatever it might be. It's tough outside, like there's challenges. And of course it's good too. Like I had great moments with my daughter last night, like that was great. And I had fun with my son playing a card game the other day. Like, we have ups and downs. Outside too, there's ups and downs in terms of what's going on with COVID, the good things, but then there's also the bad things. And then there's your business, like I had a great training session last week, which was awesome. And then I had another challenging thing with another thing I'm working on. So I had a great training on Friday and it went well. They loved it. It was all about LinkedIn thought leadership. Hey, Angie, welcome. And then this week I had a challenge with trying to fill up my thought leadership program next week, June 14th to 18th. And I was like, oh man, like I can't figure out why people don't see the value of this. And so, it's something that, there's good and bad in everything. So as we navigate this, we have to be mindful that, like, when bad things happen, I don't feel guilty that good things are happening too. So, for example, a lot of people on Facebook are talking about what happened in London, right? With this tragedy. Now, I spoke about it yesterday on Facebook, but today I spoke about how my parents were getting vaccinated, and I'm really happy about that. And people often say, "How do you navigate the happy and the sad?" And I said, well, first off, I don't feel guilty that I'm happy for one thing happening in life, because it's important to cherish those moments. And if you get sucked into the vortex of negativity about all the horrible things that are going on and everything, it can be overwhelming. Which goes back to the question, people say, why did you post about this and this and this? I'm like, well, listen, if I posted about every single social justice issue that's going on in the world that I'm troubled by, it's going to overwhelm me. Like, it's kind of reminds me of the analogy of, if I had $1 million, is it better for me to give $1 to 1,000,000 different charities, or is it more helpful to give 100,000 to 10 charities? And same with your mindset, same with your headspace, right? I mean, I only have so much time to put my mental energy into different things. So some things become current or in your head, and so this one currently is in my head. So I'm focusing my time and energy on it. I'm also thinking about the indigenous children issue, and that's kind of in my head. But yeah, there's other ones that have come in the past. There's things going on in other countries. There's the Israel-Palestine thing, and there's so many other things out there that you could talk about. But again, it's overwhelming, and so you have to try to find that balance. And then when it comes to being when I post things, negative or positive, I'm always in the moment. I'm always present to be mindful in that moment. And yes, Angie, that is kind of a sage perspective that I have. So that's really what I'm talking about. Um, and so that's my lesson for today. Now I want to kind of get into some questions people have. Angie, if you have questions, great. If you want to join me on camera, you're welcome to. I wrote down the questions that Marissa had asked, and I'm kind of going to go through them step by step. And Angie, you're welcome to participate if you want to come on camera with me. The first one is about mindset change. So one of the things that Marissa was asking was, how do you work on that mindset change for work when you're working for a means to an end, or you're working because you want to find stimulation and be developed? And how do you navigate that with different walks, different stages of your life? One stage, no worries, Angie, if you can't join, that's fine. How do you navigate that? But if you have any questions, Angie, you can add them to the conversation. So how do you navigate mindset when you're trying to work from means to an end versus working to be stimulated and developed in different stages of life? Because maybe Marissa's thinking, well, I'm a young professional, so I need to work to build up my portfolio, and I need to make some money to pay off my loans and things like that. I mean, the truth is that it doesn't really matter where you are in a stage of life. You can take on any mindset that you want. It's just a question of doing so. There are people who are 20 who quit university and work on entrepreneurship. There are people who decide not to start a job, even though they have bills, but they decide to pay it off in other ways. And they work and hustle either small, like gigs, contracts, or they start entrepreneurship. So, some people do a corporate job. Some people do a job that they hate, or that's high paying, but they don't dislike. So, what I would say to that is, number one, it's really important for you to take care of yourself and take care of what you need to do that you feel works best for you. When I started working, I thought, this is back when I graduated University of McGill, and I thought I needed to work because I had to pay off my student loans. That was kind of the mindset or narrative that I had. I wasn't even thinking about entrepreneurship. Because it wasn't really encouraged, because you're like, oh, you got loans to pay, you better get a job. That was the whole thing. But there are people who are paying off their loans and doing entrepreneurship. There's other people who are taking a year off because they know how to navigate the financial tools at their disposal to try to make the most of it. Like a lot of people didn't know when you finish university. I knew this, that you had 6 months before the interest would start to accrue. So I took that as a time to, explore and do different things before I started worrying about a job. So your mindset, comes based on how you want to create that narrative and work on that mindset. Yes, and it's about finding that balance, right? It means to an end is important. Yeah, you got to pay the bills. You got to, that's important. At the same time, you should be always wanting to be fulfilled and be developed and be supported and be stimulated. So what that reminds me of is that I talk about a lot, which is the 4 areas of fulfillment. There's 4 ways in which we get fulfilled, right? How we find fulfillment and joy in things. One is through our work. Another one is through the people in our lives. So it could be like parents, friends, children, that type of thing. Work colleagues. Another way is through extracurricular pursuits. Maybe you like rock climbing, hot yoga, stamp collecting, whatever, fills your boat. The third one is mental spiritual. So whether it's religion, faith, spirituality, mental meditation, things like that. These are the different ways in which we find fulfillment. And so too often what people do is they create a mindset or a narrative where they say, one is great, one's okay, and the other 2 are crap, and I guess that's the way it is. But so for example, oh, you know what, I really, and let's say you don't like your job. I don't like my job, but you know what, I got to pay the bills, and at least I have some good friends and family. Or, you know what, I love my job, but too bad my relationship sucks, but I guess that's the way it is. Or, I hate my job, I hate my wife and kids, but thank goodness for hot yoga. Or at least I have my faith, or whatever it might be. But the truth is that you should be able to and be willing to enhance and increase the 4 areas of fulfillment all at the same time. So don't ever settle. Don't ever settle to say, well, job's not that great, or life at home is not that great, or my spiritual thing isn't that great. You have the opportunity to actually improve them. So while you're working as a means to an end, you can work to make it better and develop and more stimulating. Or you can explore and create that stimulation other ways. Or you can ask around and start building networks to get opportunities that are more stimulating, but still allow you to make a means to an end, right? It shouldn't like, a means to an end doesn't mean that you cannot have stimulating environments and feeling that you're being developed. You can have both. It's just a question of going out there and putting it out there and going for it. It doesn't matter what stage of your life you're in. What's interesting too is like, like when I look at personal branding, most people, they use personal branding for three things. Personal branding to create more focus in their life, to focus and have, clarity, purpose, direction. That's what they need. Or they use personal branding for more alignment. I want to be more aligned with my values and find more meaning in my life and be more purpose driven that fits with who I am. Or they want to have impact. I want to have results, success, story, legacy. And what I found is younger people are more into having personal branding for impact. They want to have that impact right away. They want to stand out. They want to be recognized. They want to have that impact. And they haven't thought about the alignment piece because they feel like they can't. Or they just haven't done the work to think about what that is. Often they want focus too. And then what I find for older people, like let's say a 55-year-old CEO of some big company, they've already had the impact. And they've been focusing for years. What they really want now is alignment. They want to align with their values. They want to find more meaning in their life because they're like, this is not really what I really wanted. And so it's important to know what those things are and what you want. Okay, so I think that will be my thoughts on that first question. If you have any questions or follow-up, just type in the comments below and I'm happy to share. The second question was, how do you sell and market yourself without the right experience? Well, that's a great question. So there's lots of different ways to do it. So the first thing I would say is, if you're lacking experience, what else do you got? Because you actually have more than you realize, right? So that's something to keep in mind. There's more you have, like young people, or let's say like for me, like I was an engineer trying to transition into brand marketing. I mean, how do you do that? Well, the number one thing that you have at your disposal are your relationships. So there's people and relationships you can create and cultivate, as well as communities you can access where you can market yourself better and get those opportunities even though you're lacking experience, because when you build a relationship, there's a little bit of trust. So let's say, Marissa, you and I become really close because of conversations and discussions, and then all of a sudden you say, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity to try to do something like this. And I'll say, I'll give you an opportunity. And the reason because I know you and because there's trust developed, and so I'm willing to give you a shot. Whereas someone who doesn't know you is not going to do those things. When people know you well, they understand a bit of who you are. They understand your drive. They understand, the risks involved, and it doesn't feel so risky to them. So they're willing to take a chance on people they know really, really well. So I think that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is, even if you don't have experience, you can have knowledge. Now, one way to get knowledge, of course, is to get education. So, good example with Angie, actually. I know Angie recently got certified for coaching, and that's great because that certification will definitely boost her brand. Now, what about someone like me? I'm an old guy, and I haven't been certified in anything, but I've been coaching for years with my groups and teams and the work I've been doing, and so I feel comfortable with my brand that as a coach, that I can get coaching opportunities without being certified. But other people wanted to do the certification because it definitely boosts. I mean, if you had your druthers, you could get experience, get certified, do everything. But I made the choice not to do that, and that's okay because I think I have other ways to do it. So education is one way to overcome the lack of experience, right? You can get a certification, do a diploma. There's lots of courses and things out there you can do. That's one. Another way is to learn. I would say a really great tactic is to learn and talk about it, right? So perfect example. And the example I always use is the young people, because young people are often like, well, I don't have an experience, I don't have the education. How can I be seen as a thought leader in this field? So there's a guy on YouTube, and he talks about smartphones. He loves tech. And every time a smartphone comes out, he gives it a review, and he goes through every single aspect of the phone, like the functionality and the screen, the camera, the touchpad, the apps. Like, he goes through the whole shebang of reviewing the phone, and then he posts a video on YouTube about it. And he's done this for every single phone, all the way going back to the iPhone 5, 4, 5s, and 6s, right? He's doing all this, and his smartphones, Androids, everything. And he has millions of followers. And he's built himself a brand of thought leadership through content alone, because he talks about stuff that he knows and loves, but he does it in a very insightful way. Like, he does his work, he does his research, and that's what he's done. And so, without any education or a bachelor in smartphone technology degree, he's able to create this brand for himself, and now he gets hired to review things, and he gets sponsors and gets all that kind of stuff. So similar, you can do the same thing. If you want to be seen as a thought leader in your field, but you're young and have less experience, do the work, do some posts, talk about it. Because here's the thing. If I want to hire, let's say I want to hire a mechanical engineer for a job, okay? And I see one person's resume, second person's resume. The first thing I do is I look them up on LinkedIn. One person has a pretty good profile, got some great information. Okay, cool. Another person has the exact same thing, but they did 5 videos and they did 6 text posts talking about mechanical engineering trends and things that they geek out over. That's really good. Like, that's a huge way to separate yourself from everybody else. So, I mean, that to me, content marketing is a fantastic way to build a thought leadership brand, demonstrate expertise, showcase who you are, start conversations, and basically sell and market yourself. So all the things that I talk about, personal branding, to get clarity and focus on who you are, what your strengths are, who your target audience is one thing. And then content marketing is the way to build thought leadership and demonstrate expertise. So these are things that you can do to sell yourself even if you didn't have experience, right? If I want to become a recycling expert, let's say I want to become a guru of recycling and sustainability, I would start talking about it. And I would do the research and learn and go to events that are talking about these things and engage people and comment on people's posts. And, probably within a month of intense work and commenting, and honestly, it doesn't take that long. 5-10 hours, if you have 5-10 hours a week to like set yourself as a thought leader, you can do it in a couple of months or less. I was able to set someone else up as a thought leader in her field in 6 weeks. That's the fastest I've ever seen anyone do it. Usually it takes 3 to 6 months or longer. But, I was able to help her because it was she has such a niche market that she was doing that it worked much more quickly. Whereas other ones that are more broad, they take a little bit longer to do so because there's lots of people in that space, right? So I think that's what I would say when it comes to how to sell or market yourself without the right experience. And another way you could do actually is to find people that you know and trust and start conversations. And if they like what you're doing, they can talk about you and they can refer you. And that's another way to work. Okay, so we've covered the 2 of the questions. If anybody else has any other questions or has questions after this video is posted, you can certainly put them in the chat box, in the comment box, and I'll get to them. All right, let's keep going. 3rd question, and let's make sure I get this right here. How do I navigate new connections, maintain my current connections during COVID and different stages of life? Okay, well, I mean, that's a great question, and I think, it's something that we're all trying to figure out. And it's not as complicated as you think. I mean, the truth is, you put stuff out there, you send people messages, some people engage, some people don't. And the fact that some people don't, there's not much you can do about that, except you can try a couple things, try to engage them, but at the end of the day, people are busy and they don't respond. So I engage people by doing social media content. That goes to the entire public. So whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and people engage. That's great. But do they, and the people that engage, that's my way to reach the entire public. Because, you can't, if you have 1,000 followers and connections, it's really hard to talk to every single person. But, I do public posts as a means to talk to the whole world and give them opportunity to reach out to me and connect. And some do and some don't. Then I send messages to people on Instagram, LinkedIn, email, and things like that, for people that I want to engage more, like mostly closer colleagues, more strategic connections, and maybe some of my closer friends. And even then, what's interesting is that some people don't respond. Like I have some, like I remember, and then one time someone told me to send a video message because you get more traction. I said fine. So I decided to send a video message to 20 friends, and I picked people that I knew well versus people I didn't know well. And even when I said to the 20 friends that I knew well, how many responded? Not all of them, maybe half. What the other 10 do? I don't know. They're busy. They forgot. Like, life happens. Life goes on. And you can't get caught up in that kind of stuff. You do the best you can. Now, if there's people that you really, really want to connect to and really want to get their attention, you send more messages. So, for example, I have one of my closest friends. He's been avoiding having conversations, and he's one of my longtime friends, and he just hasn't been really engaging. And he's probably, not in the best place, but I wanted to let him know that I'm out there. So I've sent him more than one message. Like I sent him a text message a couple months ago. I sent him another message on his birthday. I sent him a card for his birthday just to let him know I'm here and I care. And so I put a little bit more effort in him because he's one of my longtime best friends, and so I'm willing to do that for him. For closer people, I'm willing to do more. So you can do lots. But you also have to set expectations because everyone's different. Stage of life is an interesting thing. Like, it doesn't matter what stage of life people are. People respond if they want to or not, right? So, just because someone is a young, busy student, or an older, busy parent, or a much older, retired executive, right? Thanks, Angie. So sweet. Love your generosity. Amen. Love that. Okay. No matter when you contact people, everyone's busy. Everyone's busy. And everyone prioritizes things differently. So I think what I would say to that is, don't worry about the time of life. Just be mindful. Just remember that people will respond or not respond for various reasons, right? They need a reason to respond. They need a reason to check in. And so a lot of people don't. And that's up to them. All we can do is send messages, share our content, make ourselves accessible, and it's interesting how many people don't follow up. What's interesting, my wife when she left the corporate world and became an entrepreneur, she started messaging people, and she's like, Bobby, I'm really surprised people just don't respond to messages. I know they don't. I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. I send texts to my closest friends and they don't respond. What's more important are the ones who do respond. They're the ones you want to nurture more relationships with. You can only try so much to reach the people that don't respond. At a certain point, there's ways to get their attention. Like a good way to get people to respond is gratitude posts. Like, I'll do a post. Let's say there's some thought leader I want to get their attention. I'll do a gratitude post, talk about how awesome they are, and then I'll go to their posts on LinkedIn or Twitter, and I'll retweet or reply. I'll comment on their posts 4 or 5 times, and trust me, after a while, they remember you, right? They start to remember you, and a perfect example of this was Gary Vaynerchuk. I sent him direct messages on Snapchat, on Instagram. I commented about all the great stuff he's doing, and then one day he decided to comment on one of my Facebook posts, and he addressed a whole bunch of different commenters because I was talking about something he had said, and that's great. Like, that kind of stuff happens, right? So, it really depends on what you wanna do. But if you're concerned about maintaining those connections, you should be trying to make new connections on a regular basis. I think that's important. I think it's important to maintain the existing connections, particularly the ones that are engaging with you. There's some people who never engage, so at a certain point, it's not worth it to expend all that energy unless you really, really, really want to. Okay, so that'll be my take on how to navigate those relationships, right? It takes work. It takes the person who follows up gets far more opportunities and responses and deepens relationships than the ones who don't. So my wife and I are very active in reaching out to people. I do it all the time. I set up bi-weekly calls with my close friends. I send messages to the ones I really care about, and I'm very proactive in doing so. I'm also proactive in saying things like in this video, and posting and commenting about things, and so that attracts people, right? But a lot of people are just busy. A lot of people have mindset issues about, oh, I don't want to bother them, or they seem busy, and who am I? And you have to go after them and say, look, it's fine. I want to talk to you. I miss you. I care about you. Let's connect. And if you do that, then people are willing to some are willing to step up, and the ones who don't worry about it. You're right. Everyone's having their own battle. Just be thoughtful, be supportive. Say, listen, I'm here anytime you need me. Happy to chat. I'll wish you all the best. That type of thing. All right. So hope this answers all your questions for today. I know Marissa joined late. You can go back to the replay and see everything that I did, but I answered all your questions. If anyone here in the group has any other follow-up questions, you can comment below here. And again, continue to share your updates. I'm trying to get you more all of you guys to share more of your updates. Share, articles that you like. Share a story that you're working on, or something you're working on, or share your updated documents, your brand statements, or your stories, whatever you're working on, so that I can give feedback as well as the community. All right. So with that, I wish you all the best. Take care. Have a safe week, and keep engaging in the group. And I will also. I'll see you. Look, I'm doing Monday. I share the articles for you to share your posts. On Wednesday, it's all about this live call, and then Friday there's a Friday tip. All right. See you later. So long.